It's time now for Lilith Lovecraft's Pro Wrestling Report.
That's right, we're coming to you with all of your pro wrestling news and reviews you could ever possibly need on this May 18th. Beginning as we always do on this day in pro wrestling history. And 26 years ago today, the WWF taped the 300th episode of Wrestling Challenge from the Riverfront Coliseum in Cincinnati, Ohio. Debuting in September of 1986, one day after its sister show, WWF Superstars of Wrestling, debuted, Wrestling Challenge followed a similar format to Superstars, recapping recent events, airing mostly squash matches, and promoting upcoming house shows and TV tapings. The show would last for 10 years, ending in September of 1996. Some matches from that card: Virgil defeated Kato, Repo Man defeated Chris Hann, and the Legion of Doom defeated Kurt Styles and Red Tyler. 21 years ago today, WCW presented Slamboree from the Independence Arena in Charlotte, North Carolina, with 9,643 in attendance and 220,000 homes watching on pay-per-view. That was up from 155,000 homes for the 1996 edition. Some matches from that card: the Steiner brothers defeated the Dungeon of Doom, Steve McMichael defeated Reggie White, and Kevin Green, Ric Flair, and Roddy Piper defeated the NWO. 15 years ago today, the WWE presented Judgment Day from the Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina, with about 13,000 in attendance and 315,000 homes buying on pay-per-view. That was down from 373,000 for the 2002 event. The event is noted for the return of WWE Intercontinental Championship. It was unified back with the World Heavyweight Championship the previous September and then deactivated. Some matches from that card: Kevin Nash defeated Triple H by disqualification in a World Heavyweight Championship match. Jazz defeated Victoria, Jacqueline, and Trish Stratus in a fatal four-way match to retain the WWE Women's Championship. And Brock Lesnar defeated The Big Show in a stretcher match to retain the WWE Championship. 14 years ago today, at a SmackDown taping in Las Vegas, Nevada, Chavo Guerrero Sr., wrestling a Chavo Classic, defeated his son, Chavo Guerrero Jr., and Spike Dudley in a triple threat match to win the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. 13 years ago today, Diamond Dallas Page reportedly released from TNA. Sources reported that management was not happy with Page not putting over Monty Brown without outside interference from Phi Delta Slam. Some believe the move was purely political and that it was connected with Dusty Rhodes stepping down from his booking position. On the same day, Jeff Hardy was suspended from TNA after arriving several hours late for Hard Justice. Hardy, who was scheduled to face Raven, was replaced by Sean Waltman. 11 years ago today, the WWE releases Shelly Martinez, Nick Mitchell, Scotty 2 Hotty, and developmental talent Angel Williams. So, Williams, who was released the same week she debuted for Ohio Valley Wrestling, would head to TNA after a brief stop in AAA. Williams, as Angelina Love, would become one of the TNA's most successful female performers, winning the Knockouts titles 6 times, and their Knockouts tag titles once. In 2013 interview, Martinez alleged that her release was a result of a confrontation she had with Dave Bautista, specifically over his relationship with Melina. Since her release, she had a stint in TNA as Selena's. She's done some modeling, some reality television, and appeared on the independent circuit. She returned to TNA in 2016 for the Knockouts Knockdown 4 special in a losing effort to Rebel. The match was voted worst of 2016 by Wrestling Observer newsletter readers. And in 2017, Martinez announced that she would be retiring from wrestling. In a 2009 interview, Mitchell alleged that his relationship with then WWE diva Tori Wilson stifled his success with the company, saying he was, quote, a young, fresh meat WWE guy who didn't deserve the most beautiful diva. Mitchell and Wilson dated for 5 years before breaking up in 2011. Mitchell retired from wrestling in 2008 and began training for MMA. He lost his only MMA fight back in 2010. But the release we're all really caring about was Scotty 2 Hotty, obviously, real name Scott Garland. He made multiple appearances for the WWE since his release. Garland has wrestled as Scotty the Hottie and Scotty 2 Hotty with a different spelling for over 30 different promotions since leaving the WWE in 2007, including IWA out of Puerto Rico and Pro Wrestling Noah. Garland, who trained to be a firefighter in 2013, is back with the WWE as a trainer at their performance center. 10 years ago today, the WWE presented Judgment Day from the Quest Center in Omaha, Nebraska, with about 11,324 in attendance and 252,000 homes buying on pay-per-view, which was up from 242,000 homes for the 2007 edition. Some matches from that card: The Undertaker defeated Edge by countout in a match for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship, and Triple H defeated Randy Orton in a steel cage match to retain the WWE Championship. 3 years ago today, on a Raw from Richmond, Virginia, Kevin Steen, aka NXT champion Kevin Owens, makes his WWE debut as a challenger to John Cena's United States Open Challenge. This comes 2 weeks after Owens' opponent for NXT TakeOver Unstoppable. Later that week, Sami Zayn made his debut in a similar bout, in which he injured his shoulder during his entrance. The match never takes place as Owens attacks Cena and then gives him a pop-up powerbomb, which sets up the Owens-Cena match at Elimination Chamber Reboot later in the month. And there are plenty of birthdays today, so we're going to keep every profile as brief as possible. It's a happy 45th birthday to Brian Daniel Heffron, best known to wrestling fans as the Blue Meanie. Inspired by the creatures of the same name of the 1968 animated film Yellow Submarine with the Beatles, Heffron is best known for his run in ECW from 1995 to 1998 and 2000 as Blue Boy, and then in the WWF from 1998 to 2000, with a brief return in the summer of 2005. Today, Heffron occasionally wrestles and is a trainer at the Monster Factory, a wrestling school in Paulsboro, New Jersey. It's a happy 68th birthday to James Harris, best known to wrestling fans as Kamala. He was actually born in Mississippi. Harris moved to Florida in 1967 at the suggestion of local police. He'd become a habitual burglar around this time. 8 years later, he landed in Michigan, where he met with Bobo Brazil and began wrestling training. He trained alongside the likes of Michael Hayes, Percy Pringle, and Terry Gordy before moving to Arkansas to further his training. Harris made his pro debut in 1979 and would go under a few names before adopting the name of Kamala. With Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler, the three molded the gimmick, a simple-minded Ugandan cannibal. He wrestled for Mid-South Wrestling in the early 80s and would appear off and on for the WWF for about a decade. He drove a truck following his WWF run for a couple of years and had a cup of coffee in WCW in 1995. Kamala wrestled sporadically for WWE in the early and mid-2000s, most notably as part of the Gimmick Battle Royal at WrestleMania 17, but mostly been on the independent circus. Harris, who had dabbled in songwriting, he's written over 100 songs, many of them about his experiences within the wrestling business, lost both of his legs due to high blood pressure and diabetes. And it is also a happy 75th birthday to James Wiley Smith, later known as James William Ryer, but probably best known to wrestling fans as Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Snuka, a former amateur bodybuilder, wrestled for several NWA territories before joining up with the WWF in 1982. Though a heel initially, fans took his high-flying style and he would become a face in 1983. In October of 83, Snuka dove from the top of the cage in Madison Square Garden onto Don Morocco. A number of wrestlers, including Bubba Ray Dudley, Tommy Dreamer, Mick Foley, and the Sandman, cite this as one of the reasons they decided to pursue careers in wrestling. Snuka would be a primary player in the WWF until his release in August of 1985, just a month before Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling debut. After 3 years in the AWA, Snuka returned to the WWF in 1989 as a jobber to the stars. He's most known during his run for being the first man to lose to The Undertaker at WrestleMania. His final television match came against Shawn Michaels in February of 1992. A month later, he arrived in Eastern Championship Wrestling and became its first champion. He remained with that company until just before the name changed to Extreme Championship Wrestling in '94. Snuka, a member of the WWE Hall of Fame class of 1996, appeared mostly on the independent scene, though he had made appearances for both WWE and WCW. He had filmed a reality show with his wife and had taken part in poker tournaments. In May of 1983, Snuka was suspected, but not officially charged in the death of his then-girlfriend, 23-year-old Nancy Argentino. Autopsy findings showed that she suffered more than a dozen cuts and bruises and died of undetermined craniocerebral injuries, and the case was left open until this last year. In 2013, the case was reviewed by Lehigh County District Attorney Jim Martin and was turned over to the grand jury in January of 2014. In September of 2015, Snuka was arrested on third-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter charges. This came just a month after being diagnosed with stomach cancer, and following his arrest, Snuka's WWE Legends contract was indefinitely suspended and his page removed from the WWE's Hall of Fame website. On the 3rd of January in 2017, Snuka was deemed mentally unfit to stand trial due to his dementia, and the murder charges were dismissed. The dismissal came about a month after it was announced that Snuka was in hospice and had 6 months to live due to the stomach cancer being terminal. That cancer would claim his life on the 15th of January 2017 at the age of 73. So happy birthday to everyone out there celebrating a birthday this week. On to the world of news. Following the health issues that he was dealing with prior to WrestleMania 34, Shane McMahon underwent successful hernia surgery this week. WWE.com announced yesterday afternoon that Shane had the surgery in New York City last Friday. He had suffered an umbilical hernia during a bout with acute diverticulitis earlier this year, and was dealing with the infection as well, briefly putting his status for WrestleMania into some doubt. Shane ended up working the show, however, teaming with Daniel Bryan against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, as scheduled, and he was also an entrant in the Greatest Royal Rumble on April 27th because he's an absolute madman. Chris Jericho revealed in his podcast this month that he was contacted by Vince McMahon a few weeks before WrestleMania to be the backup plan if Shane hadn't been able to compete. WWE.com noted that Shane is resting at home and feeling well. He should be back on television in his on-screen role as commissioner of SmackDown soon. So, best wishes and warm thoughts to Shane McMahon while he's in recovery. Ahead of a possible title defense against Cody Rhodes at All In, Nick Aldis will be facing the Young Bucks at Ring of Honor's Honor United tour. Ring of Honor announced that Aldis, the current NWA World Heavyweight Champion, will be in action at Honor United Edinburgh on the 24th of May. The storyline for the match is related to Aldis appearing at All In, with him making it one of the stipulations of him agreeing to defend the title against Cody. He'll be teaming with a partner of Ring of Honor's choosing. Billy Corgan represented the NWA at Sunday's All In press conference, where it was announced that Cody would be challenging whoever is NWA champion on the 1st of September at what's going to be an absolutely awesome show. This will be Aldis' in-ring debut for Ring of Honor, though he has shown in the crowd during Dalton Castle versus Marty Scurll at Supercard of Honor last month. The show in Edinburgh, Scotland, is the first stop of the Honor United Tour and will continue in London, England on the 26th and Doncaster on the 27th. A Ring of Honor World Championship match is set for London, with Castle defending his title against Evil. And we, of course, have Money in the Bank coming up very soon, and so we're going to go through the matches that have been announced so far for Money in the Bank. The WWE Championship will have the current champion AJ Styles defending against Shinsuke Nakamura. WWE has yet to add a specific stipulation to this match, but Nakamura will choose it after winning a one-on-one match. It will be the 4th time they have squared off on a title on the line, 5th overall, dating back to WrestleMania 34. I'm personally loving the storyline with AJ and Shinsuke, of course, and Shinsuke as a heel I think is very enjoyable. The Raw Women's Championship will see the current champion Nia Jax defending against Ronda Rousey. It's a bit of a shocker. This match was booked at Upfront presentation on the red carpet. Most expected Jax to get a new opponent or to fight Bliss again, but the fact that it's Rousey, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. I don't think Rousey should be in a Raw Women's Championship match at this point in her career, but hey, silver spoon. The SmackDown Women's Championship will see the current champion Carmella defend against Asuka. Carmella stunningly earned a clean win over Charlotte Flair back at Backlash, but with the knee injury tossed into the finish and Flair the Money in the Bank match, Paige named Asuka the new challenger. I hope this is Asuka's chance to beat down Carmella like never before and to walk away with the title. And of course, we have the men's Money in the Bank ladder match with Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, The Miz, Rusev, Bobby Roode, Kevin Owens, a member of the New Day, and someone to be announced. The match will of course consist of 8 men with 4 competing both from Raw and SmackDown, and the remaining spot will either go to Samoa Joe or Big Cass next week. The women's Money in the Bank ladder match currently has Ember Moon, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, and 4 other people to be announced. Moon earned her spot right off the bat because they're pushing her like crazy. And Flair claimed her spot the next night on SmackDown. We will now have to wait and see who the 4 women joining the bout will be, 2 from each brand. And in the world of rumors, a story from Buffalo TV station is promoting that Ronda Rousey's wrestling debut in a city for a July episode of Raw has led to speculation Rousey will be wrestling on television very soon. If you're going to be challenging the likes of Stephanie McMahon and Triple H at WrestleMania, and you're going to be challenging for the Raw Women's title, you should be doing some television matches. Come on. On their Elite radio show, PW Insider's Mike Johnson said that it's unlikely WWE would ever rehire Enzo Amore, as he was already on thin ice before the allegations surfaced, and he wouldn't be surprised if he was possibly hired by Impact. According to Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer Radio, backstage heat isn't a new thing for Big Cass, so there's been some rumors going around about Big Cass being in some trouble. Discussing the segment which saw Cass take a beating from Daniel Bryan after rumors that he was in trouble for not following the script on SmackDown before Backlash, Alvarez said, quote, "This is not the first time stupid stuff has happened with Cass." There is some speculation that Sarah Logan may have been sent home from WWE's European tour and replaced by Mickie James in Rousey's match in Geneva. And she also posted a story on Instagram from Florida, so it looks like she simply isn't on the European tour right now. I'm not sure what happened there, so we'll be following that story next week, of course. And both the Observer and Insider agree that the greatest Royal Rumble trophy was not supposed to break when Braun Strowman bowled it over Drew McIntyre on Raw this week. That's your wrestling report for this morning.